Alright, it is 6:03. Today is August the 5th, 2021. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The first item that we have is roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Erasmo Villarreal.
Present.
Vice Chair Jorge Dominguez.
Present.
Rafael Dueñas.
Present.
Abraham Lugo. Johnny Narvaez.
Present.
Raúl Ugalde. Laredo Valina.
Here.
Daniela Sada Paz. Ana Gabriela Herrera. Mr. Chairman, for the record, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item we have is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody, please stand and face the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to excuse the commissioners that didn't
Why
show
don't
up.
we wait a little bit? Some of them may
Just
be
give them show
late,
up.
and then we'll take that motion a little bit later. Because I know probably some of them are on the way.
Okay.
Then we'll wait a little bit. All right, the next item that we have is citizens' comments. Do we have anybody listed for citizens' comments?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I am going to do something under citizens' comments. I am going to appoint a committee to work with the planning department of the Planning and Zoning Commission on the Recode Laredo. I am appointing Jorge Dominguez, Laredo Valina, and myself to work with the planning staff on the Recode Laredo.
Sir.
All right, can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
A motion,
I'll second.
second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. This is gonna take us a process. It's gonna be a little bit, because that is a very lengthy book. But I do believe these individuals that I have appointed have a lot of experience, and I think will help us come up with a document that'll be a good document into the future for a while. And that's the whole intent here, that we come up with a document that is, I guess, should have been done a while back. It's time to change standards. It's time to change a few things in that book, and so we're gonna be looking at that. For the record, Lugo has made it. All right, next item that we have is, we have staff presentations.
Did we skip approval of minutes?
Oh, we did, you're right. Let's,
I so moved.
we have the meeting of July 15th. Motion, we have a
I'll
second.
second.
And second, all those in favor? All right, motion carries. All right, next thing we have is a staff presentation, overview of the Laredo International Bridge System Master Plan. Who will make the presentation?
I am right behind you, sir.
All right,
Good evening, my name is Kent Richard. I'm with the City of Laredo Bridge Department, Assistant Director. Our Director is Missy Yvette Limon. What I wanted to talk to you about tonight, the City of Laredo has never done a master plan on the bridge to know if what's the infrastructure, or we have capacity, what's going on, do we need more bridges, what? So this is the first time ever. I kind of have all my notes here. Let me kind of grab them and I'll run to the other side if you don't mind. I'll go from there, my apologies. You know, we want to forecast what the bridge system is going to look like 20, 30 years from now. You know, you might say it's at 30% capacity, Customs might say it's at 50, we might say we're at 40, 45, everybody has a different opinion. So we want to know, you know, where do we stand? What does the infrastructure look like? The roads? And this is for all four bridges, Bridge 1, 2. We want to know pedestrians, non-commercial, commercial. Where can we pick up, run with it so everything will run much smoother? We want to see how to relieve congestion and this, you know, make operations run so much better. The ultimate goal is to reduce wait times and to get them out of the U.S. into Mexico. We, the city, have no say-so on getting it from Mexico into the U.S. with Customs. You know, we would love to and pick up the phone and say, hey, you know, Mexico says the line is too far, you know, but they're going to say, who are you doing such a thing? We went out and got bids several months ago to put this bridge master plan together. We had 3 companies do a presentation. We had a committee, and they selected one S&B infrastructure to put this together. It was completed at the end of June. It's currently a draft. It's my understanding that the Planning and Zoning has prepared a link for all of the members here to go out and review it and see it. We're looking to see, and that's what we're here for, to let y'all know it's there, it's available. We would like y'all to review it, and if you have any comments, questions, concerns on it, if you could get back to us by next Friday, August the 13th, with Miss Yvette Limon. She is our director. Her number is 721-2720, my apologies. And I can give you my email address on a business card, and then her email address would just be Limon. Some of the stuff that we got going on right now, improvements that maybe a lot of y'all are already aware of. We have the World Trade Bridge Fast Lane Relocation project. It's going to free up. Customs has 15 primary inspection lanes. We're going to free up 4 of their lanes to bring it into between the city southbound lanes and Customs. We're going to bring in 4 lanes for the Fast Lane program. Anybody that's vetted to get them through. That should be finished by July of 2022. Also, weight in motion scales will be at the exit lanes of Customs going on to I-69, as well as a lot of y'all know, TxDOT is right now also working on 1.74 miles, basically from 35 all the way to the end of the loop where the Bridge 4 is, widening it. Currently, there's 2 lanes going north, 2 lanes going south, and they're going to add an additional lane on each one of those. As well as when you're coming out of Customs area, they're going to widen and put another turning area to make it wider. We used to have 1 lane coming out of 5 exits would go into 1 lane, so they could all be weighed on Loop 20. They have already moved those barricades, and we have 2 lanes now for these trucks to go out. They are widening right there as they come out Riverbank, pretty much all the way to 35, and that will give us 3 lanes going both directions.
Are the scales yours or the state's?
The scales would be ours.
Why?
The scales that the state had on Loop 20, they took them out a few months back, because DPS has basically gotten marching orders that they need to go further inland and not be on right at the exits. So what we're going to do, our system will allow the state and DPS to tap into it. If we have a vehicle that is exiting, that is notifying us that is greater than 80,001 pounds, DPS will also be notified on that. And so we will, and by law, we will have a static scale secondary, because you gotta do a secondary inspection to make sure that the weight is correct and accurate. So besides just your weight in motion, you gotta do a second scale and check that out. And that'll all be done right there by the exit.
Doesn't that diminish your efficiency, because you're gonna have the scale and then the static scale, and the truck can't be moving because the weight in motion, if the truck is coming too fast, will overweight, and so then in order to get to the static scale, it's basically gonna have to come to a halt, and that halt then creates a backlog.
We have that same thing going on right now at bridge number 4 going southbound. And we have to U-turn them, stop traffic for a second, and put them on a static scale, because a lot of these trucks will be coming in too fast. When they get to the lanes, they hit their brakes and bounce on the scales. It gives them a false reading. Or if they're piggybacking too close to another
Where I'm
vehicle.
going is, why is it the city's responsibility
So,
to
well,
do that?
it's an ordinance with the city of Laredo that anything greater than 80,001 pounds
Not
must have.
outbound, it's inbound.
Inbound.
But it's coming onto our streets of Laredo.
It's coming onto the state highway and their own system roadways for 1472.
But it is in the city of Laredo.
And so,
So,
really,
you know, city managers and city council are pushing that we need to have this as well, because it's stepping into city.
Actually, I think what you ought to be doing is looking for an overweight road on Mines Road and reinforcing it to allow heavier traffic to go through it so that you can compete with people like Brownsville who already have those designations.
I
But
understand.
that's just my personal.
I understand, Mr. Gavilina. I will get back with Ms. Limon and present her thoughts to you, to her, and let her know where you stand on this. And then also what I want to say is, like I said earlier, anybody has any comments, like Mr. Gavilina, hey, feel free to shoot us an email, let us know. We would like to hear from y'all by next Friday, August 13th. What was going on also, up until a couple of years ago, we were looking to expand bridge number 4, add additional 8 lanes. Basically, it's been on halt for a couple of years now because that's where it came up. Let's do a bridge master plan. Do we really need a bridge 4 expansion by 8 additional lanes? Do we also need a bridge 5-4, if you want to call it, in South Laredo? So this bridge master plan is touching bases on all this to see what it is. But the ultimate goal is we want to reduce, traffic congestion, wait times, and we want to, work together as a team and see how we can get this out of, especially World Trade Bridge, get all this congestion out. We currently have 3 port police that we pay their salary with the bridge department. We were just approved last night to bring on an additional 3 police officers and a supervisor. So anytime we do have congestion in the Mines Road area, Loop 20 area, we have our 3 police officers that are currently working right now from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And October 1st, we'll bring on another 3 police officers. If we do have backup congestion, they also bring in additional police officers to try and alleviate what is going on in the area.
So, ¿este master plan solamente es Walter Ridge?
Solamente es que
Walter Ridge. Solamente
No.
el Puente Carlos master
No.
plan.
Está todos los 4 puentes aquí en Laredo, en commercial, non-commercial y pedestrian también. O sea, los 4 puentes, and then
¿Sí me incluyes un puente futuro, Walter Ridge?
Like a future bridge?
sí, también.
Sí me incluye
Es,
tu master plan.
sí, el puente en el south, puente 5-4.
La primera vez que yo vi la expansión del puente me la enseñó Chuy Olivares.
Yes.
Aprobar los fondos para la expansión del puente. ¿Cuál es la razón por la que en 2 años y medio no se haya construido nada?
Well, you see, right now, mucha gente dice, ¿necesita un puente 5?
No.
Okay.
Vamos a hablar solamente en confusiones.
Okay.
Hace más de 2 años y medio se aprobó el budget para la construcción de la expansión del puente. ¿Qué pasó en estos 2 años y medio? ¿Por qué no se puso una piedra ahí?
Mucha gente
¿Por qué no
dice...
se movió nada en 2 años y medio?
Y déjame hablar un poquito en inglés también.
No problema. Mira, tú hablas en inglés, yo te hablo en español.
Okay.
Y practicamos también. Yo my English.
Es que mucha gente
Say in
dice...
English, please.
Okay, a lot of people said, yes, we need the expansion on the bridge. Pero a lot of other people says, do we really need it? And that's when the word came up, let's get this bridge master plan together. Let's see. ¿Sí necesita? ¿No necesita?
Perdón que te interrumpa. No estoy hablando de lo que dice mucha gente o poca gente. Te estoy hablando de lo que se hizo en el Cabildo. Aprobaron el dinero para la expansión del puente hace 2 años y medio. ¿Qué ha pasado estos 2 años y medio? ¿Por qué no se trabajó esa expansión?
Con ese dinero.
Right.
Like with the money,
Where-
with the funds?
Right. The
Why haven't
funds,
they?
the funds, we have the funds in the construction account. We have it readily available. But we wanted to satisfy both sides because, like I said, and I repeat, a lot of people are saying we need it. A lot of people said, do we really need it?
Otra vez, sorry, discúlpame.
So-
Si mi inglés es malo, discúlpame.
Okay.
No estoy hablando de lo que dice la
council
gente.
rescind their previous
Estoy hablando de
action?
lo que se aprobó.
Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah.
It's, I
Yeah.
can't say the word was rescind. They basically said, you know what, it needs to be suspended at this moment.
So
Put
the
on
council
hold.
suspended the action that
Tenemos
he
un-
says was taken.
Yeah, the wording that I heard,
Suspendieron el
Por eso, pero
proyecto.
tenemos dónde suspendieron el
yeah,
proyecto.
the wording I
Yes,
heard has been
Escrito
on
algo.
suspension at this moment until the master plan comes through, had everybody
¿Tienes
look at
alguna
it.
agenda donde se haya suspendido ese proyecto?
Is there something in the
Yeah,
agenda?
they can't make that decision, somebody else makes it for them.
Right.
Por eso.
Yeah.
This master plan will be presented.
Si estuviera en vigor ya lo tuviera que haber hecho.
Pero no he visto la suspensión, Larry.
Sí,
yo he
yo sé.
seguido las agendas.
Pero
y he
ellos no
seguido
pueden
que-
hacer la decisión solos.
Right.
Alguien les dijo a ellos que pararan.
Someone told you to stop.
¿Dónde?
Yes, right.
You
Well,
didn't even forgot.
with the direction of city manager and
City council.
city council, let's stop, let's hold off on it, let's put together a master plan and find out, you know,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, like they were mentioning, it was moving forward,
yes. Mm-hmm.
and for whatever reason, the council and city management decided to put a halt on it.
Uh-huh.
Is there the cons? What was presented that decided them to change? the
I don't
plan?
have the specifics on what exactly was on that.
Does it exist though?
I'm sorry?
Does it exist?
Yeah, there's gotta be something out there that says this is, we're suspending it at this time until we see that we're gonna proceed forward.
How could I go about finding out what was those? Well,
Uh-huh.
You can do
because
an
it would-
open records request.
There's open records, like Mr. Dovalina says, as well as you can shoot me an email or to my boss, Ms. Limon, and we can get exact information on what you're looking
Like,
for
I
on
guess what
that.
I'm looking for is what was presented to them that changed their mind? Because it must have been a big decision, like, or a big,
Exactly.
a big
Exactly.
presentation
Right.
that altered their decision.
You
And
know.
I'm curious to know what
I
was
understand.
presented to them
Yes.
that made them decide
Yes.
to stop. Because
Send us-
I feel
Uh-huh.
there's more pros to expand.
Mhm.
And I'm very curious to see what was so
I
great
understand.
that decided,
Mhm.
you know
Right.
what, that's positive.
I will give you my email and then I can, give you Ms. Limon's email as well.
So the expansion that they're talking about was to the bridge the bridge structure itself.
The bridge structure itself, yes,
And-
sir.
And so you would have, in order to have done that, you would have had to amend the bridge permit. You should have gone to the
Yes.
State Department.
Yes,
and
yes.
Gone
Uh-huh.
through the bilateral, binational committees and all
That
that.
is correct.
Was
Yes,
that done?
Yes, sir.
It was, and it was
Yes.
approved? And you have
Um,
a presidential permit to do the amendment?
yeah, let me see, I had some information.
One of the delays.
Yeah?
I'm gonna make.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
One of the delays was that they couldn't, one of the delays was that they couldn't really come to terms as to what they wanted to do. So city council decided that in order to do what they wanted to do, each of the members, they had to bring a master plan. So they held everything because there was no guidance.
They themselves.
So now they're coming back and they're creating a master plan that is gonna use as a guide on how they're gonna spend the money according to the wishes of some of the council members are not there anymore. So that would be the.
Because
I guess I know who they are.
yeah, I also thought it was not only for the infrastructure to the bridge, but to the arteries that go out of the bridge
Right. Mhm.
also. It's not only the structure of the bridge itself, it's also the arteries that, the overflow that come out from the bridge. That,
All of those are on system roadways that are controlled by Textiles.
That's right.
And the city doesn't have the control of those roads.
Right.
And so in order to make changes, they need to go and get the other parties to agree to whatever those structures.
Yeah, and we're working hand in hand with TechStop, and like I say, they're doing their roads also.
So when you did the master plan and
Mhm.
you were mentioning that you did, all of what you thought were the needs of,
Mhm.
the concrete and mortar
Mhm.
types of things, did you also look at the need for updating the way in motion systems and the interconnections and the fiber optics that connect all the international bridge systems?
All that was updated a couple of years ago, sir.
How did you update it?
We spent a little over $10 million and put in all new computer systems, software, weight in motions, the trays, the scales, the readers.
And what about the fiber optics?
Yes, all that was taken care of.
You did? You
Yes.
did all the fiber optics between the bridges? All
Well,
22?
not between, but by linking through our computer system with our computer switches
So you
and
didn't,
things
so you
like that.
didn't do anything to the
There's
fiber?
no fiber optics out there.
Oh, yeah.
On my road only.
Hell, there's all the way to Columbia, there's.
Fiber optics?
Oh, yeah,
that's right,
there's
that's right,
22
8 years
miles.
ago.
We do
have
That's
fiber
right,
optics.
That's right, 8, 9 years ago, I remember now.
We do have fiber optics on the bridges and everything, but our information is connected through computer switches and stuff. We have our main hubs at Bridge 1, Bridge 4, and we have a backup also.
I'm very familiar with all that.
Yes, sir, I'm sure you are.
Perdón, Chairman, a mí sí me parece importante conocer quién es el responsable de haber detenido esta obra.
El concilio.
Porque si el dinero,
El
yo no vi
concilio.
la agenda, ¿tienen la agenda? Me
No,
gustaría
pero-
conocerla.
Tiene
Pues no
que-
sé, me imagino que sí está.
Me
Tiene que
gustaría
estar,
conocerla porque
como dijo Larry,
esta decisión
el
de...
puente solo,
No,
ellos no
hacen
tienen
la
la
decisión.
capacidad
Ya
de
tienen los
hacer la decisión.
contratos, ya tienen el dinero aprobado, ya tienen las empresas constructoras. ¿Por qué no tenemos las fechas de entrega? Porque si alguien
mira.
paró 2 años, ¿por qué lo paró?
El
La
concilio.
consecuencia de eso, mandaron vacíos por Colombia y tenemos mucho tráfico en las minas. Es importante saber que cuando se apruebe una obra, tenga una fecha límite para entrega. Y si no se entrega, ¿quién es el responsable de esa entrega para saber a quién? No puedo reclamarle yo a los 8 del concilio porque no está en la agenda.
No, sí tiene que haber estado en la agenda.
Bueno, estamos especulando porque no tenemos la agenda en la mano.
No, no sabe.
Pero tienes que entender que ellos no tienen el poder de ir a sacar un proyecto, aunque esté aprobado, tienen que pedir permiso para que se haga todo el proceso.
Para que no se haga.
Y si no se va a hacer,
Eso ya está
Y siento
autorizado.
que no tenían el permiso presidencial,
pues sí, pero
porque para poder avanzar tenían que estar los dos lados
sí,
autorizados. Y siento que del lado mexicano no.
State Department en Relaciones Exteriores tienen que tener una junta y se tienen que
I think
tomar.
we're getting off the
But
subject.
anyway, that's
We're getting
a
off the
different
subject
matter.
here. Go ahead and continue with your presentation.
To answer your question, yes, this big bridge expansion had started around January of 2017, and then February of 2019 was when it was suspended. But the application was being prepared for the presidential permit, because that is very important. Without that, we can't move forward. So all the players know what we got to do, but being we had to put it on hold because of so much for it or opposition for it, that's where the bridge master plan came about.
Just a minute, you said that on February of
2017.
2017.
it was suspended?
No.
2019.
In 2019 is what I heard.
February of 2019.
That's when it was suspended, right?
Yes, suspended, put on hold.
And that was done by the city council. It's gotta have been done by city council.
Right.
Nobody else can do it.
Correct.
Okay, go right ahead.
So basically, that's why we got this master plan that was put together, and we presented it to council, city managers. A couple of weeks ago, we presented it to the bridge, a new group that has started with the bridge. I'm at a loss of words on it. It's a
Advisory committee.
correct. Thank you. Yes, advisory committee,
You have
and
an
then
advisory committee there too?
yes.
Court Advisory Committee.
Yes.
Really?
12, 13 years ago, they had tried that, and then it was put away, and then it's brought up again. The industry wants it to come back. And then tonight, we're presenting this to you, and this is only a draft at the moment. This is not the final product. So like I said, our planning and zoning department has connected a link on their website for each and every one of y'all to go into it, look at it, see what your comments, concerns are, things of that nature, what need to be tweaked, and we would love to hear from y'all. At this time, I can give you my business card.
That master plan, can you just give us some of the bullet points?
I haven't looked at it thoroughly
Oh.
in depth. It is like this. 500 and something pages.
Uh-huh.
It is trying to forecast what is the future, what do we foresee, what are our crossings going to be, things of that nature. You know, currently we have traffic at 2.4 million, and you know, is it going to increase to 8, 10, 12 million? You know, that's what we're trying to pinpoint, talking to the industry to see where it should be at.
Let me ask you something else. You're in the bridge system. What is it in terms of crossings?
Our average crossings daily have been 7,000 trucks daily. We have been hitting 8,000, 8,600,
One way?
8,700.
One way or
One way.
both ways?
We collect data one way going southbound.
So
Customs usually is always saying we're in agreement with our numbers, you know, so.
So you're like at 16,000.
16,000 a day, more or less.
Correct.
Okay. So what is total capacity of the World Trade Bridge right now in terms of movements? What can it hold? I mean, are we at 30% or capacity 50%?
That's what we're trying to find out. Customs will tell you that Colombia is at 30%. You know, we can look at it and we can see the bridge is empty from 8 in the morning till lunchtime or 2 o'clock, and then it picks up at 3 or 4, and then we're bumper to bumper till 10 o'clock at night. So if we're taking on 8,000 trucks southbound, you know, I could say we could take 16,
Okay.
20,000.
Well, we'll look at that link. I think it's going to be vital for us to look at that link.
Most definitely.
This is something that I know we've been discussing, a few of us, on being that we're supposed to be the largest inland port, and the World Trade Bridge seems to be our #1 vehicle of movement.
That is correct.
We have concerns as to how it's being handled in terms of expansion, and I don't think bridge expansion is really something that needs to happen. I think what you need to do is a more efficient flow of traffic is really what you need, and to do that is you need an expressway to get commercial traffic, truck traffic on its own over the mines road. Coming and going, and that's it. Nothing else.
With what Textile is doing right now, adding those 2 extra lanes.
Yeah, but that's not gonna help you. You see, the problem is you've got movements going on 1472 that have stoplights. Every stoplight is timed. It's a time delay. Even your weighing of trucks going out, that's a hell of a delay. Because that movement stops that vehicle, and then you gotta start up again. That's a lot of delays. And, you know, like they say in the industry, time is money.
I agree with you,
And
sir.
so if we can eliminate, like Larry said, I don't think we should really be weighing trucks at the coming off of the bridge. I think that's just delaying movements. If you look at it just from a pure planning point of view, that to me is inefficiency, big time.
Yeah. But that is something that management, city manager.
And I understand, and we're gonna make those comments, because I mean, what city management says and what other citizens may say could be totally different. I mean, I'm sure if we talk to the industry, they're gonna say that that's an efficiency to them. You know, because to them, truck that is not moving is not making money.
I agree.
And so those are things that I think we need to think out of the box. We can't be thinking, pues que, Larry's suggestion also was a very good one, I mean, at this point, if we can't figure out that we need to do just strictly an expressway for trucks, obviously we need to do something. And if we don't do that, then we need to figure out how do we get passenger vehicles off of the mines road and on a separate road, so that it frees it up for, the commercial traffic.
Right.
I don't see that anywhere in the CIP right now.
Well, we do have some of those new roads coming off of the Mines Road, the Hachar, the Valencia.
All you're doing there is queuing, because they're coming back to the same place, you see? They're going to have to cross the World Trade Bridge. I can queue all you want to on, Vallecillos, and all you're doing is just holding traffic. It's not really solving a problem. We're just queuing. We need to solve the problem, and I don't think anybody's really doing any forward thinking on solving the problem. We're putting a little Band-Aid here. I'm gonna add a lane, I'm gonna add this, I'm gonna take a line off. That is a Band-Aid. If you have to look at an inland port, I hope that damn master plan says that we gotta be thinking out of the box here and how we're gonna move traffic. Because that's the biggest concern is the movement. That's the key, movement. And if we cannot address movement, You can do everything you want to, and it ain't gonna help much.
And that was, Mr. Chairman, exactly the, one of the concerns that they had back in 2019,
Yeah.
that, okay, you're gonna invest an X amount of money in my district, see, not to mention Fort Woods, and how are you gonna move the traffic? So they wanted to make sure that the investment was going to be together with moving the traffic out of the area, which is still not. That was
Going back to the weight, like,
Yes,
you
sir.
you said that the weight that the management wants that's important to them, right, the weight.
Okay.
And under the impression that the city of Laredo also enforces the weight?
Not
Well,
outbound.
I guess what I was trying to say, if we're investing to take a look into the weight, then, the only way that I see that it would even be cost effective for us is we also enforce the weight.
Right.
Well,
We're enforcing
when-
the way
when you
southbound.
have inbound that's going outbound to Mexico, the way in motion, it automatically gives a penalty to the individuals, and they have a card reader that's on the trucks, and it automatically dips their account for the fine that it is for overweight. But when you're coming back in reverse, you have no control of what's going on, and so you're investing money in something that brings no return back to you.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out, like,
Well, the return would be back to us by, you know, is there people coming into the US that are overweight?
No,
without
that's
penalty?
the one you're already charging for.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the ones coming into the US.
Now, if you're going out and you're overweight,
Exactly.
the one that gets the fine is the state.
If they're going into Mexico?
No.
Oh, right now, if they're coming into the US.
Yes.
I agree.
Right.
But, like I said,
So why would you care about the weight?
Like
Because
I
you're
said-
not the one enforcing it.
DPS has removed their scales off of the.
That's great.
And it's not being enforced right now, unless it's, you know, Textiles is down out there and pulls them over and puts them on a portable scale.
Right.
But the city of Laredo wants to check that to see, do we have people coming in overweight that don't have a permit? You know, we want them to be
But if
in
you,
compliance.
but if you did an overweight roadway, which we tried to do back in 2006 or 4 or 5, whenever it was,
Mhm.
you wouldn't have to worry about it because you could bring in the overweights as long as they were destined for the warehouses where they were gonna be.
I
And
understand
you
your
wouldn't
point.
have to do the weight, you wouldn't
Right
have to
there,
do
yeah.
the static, you wouldn't have to do anything.
I understand your point, yes, sir.
And that would create efficiency.
I understand.
Wait, Ken, how much is the scales gonna cost?
We're looking at, 10.3.
If we take $10.3 million and do an overweight,
10.3 is for the fast lane, my correction. The exit lanes at the customs is about 4.5.
so if we were to just take the scales out
Uh-huh.
and take that money and put it in an overweight road
Mhm.
destination, which is usually gonna be off Killam somewhere, wouldn't that be a more efficient use of the money? Because that would eliminate,
Mhm.
And
the
it
stop
gives-
of motion.
And it gives you capacity to carry other items that you now can't carry that actually go through the port of Brownsville.
Right.
Porque, por ejemplo, esas, I don't know what they're called, the steel rolls that are there.
Right.
You currently have a limit of 2 per truck, but in Brownsville, they can carry 3 per truck. And so you can't compete with that because they have that overweight road.
I think that's something that, yeah,
Anyway.
I hope that master plan addressed that, but we'll see.
You know, I entertain all of y'all's comments, and I am writing some notes.
They're friendly comments.
Hey, I'm not thinking of that in any way. We're all one team. We work together. The bottom line is we want to see how we can make it flow better.
Faster.
And get the trucks
Faster.
out of the area, out of the residentials, out of the loop, get them onto the bridge or get them off the bridge into Mexico or into the US, onto the interstates and to their final destination. So, but we would love to entertain anything that y'all want to send email to us. I will give you my email, my business card with my email on it. I do not have any business cards of Miss Limon at the moment. But her email address is ylimon, You would just substitute my name for her name.
Construcción de no podríamos tener la fecha en que van a terminar esa construcción. Supongo que les falta pues esto.
Thank you.
No la hacen porque tienes que, en las especificaciones que haces para construcción, le pones el
Pero ahí dice
el
no
tiempo.
entonces.
Sí, pero tienes que hacer eso primero, tienes que hacer la subasta primero para que puedas determinar a quién vas a escoger y dentro de ese rango ahí te dicen el tiempo para
¿Qué
construir.
les vas a dar?
Yo recuerdo que ya escogí el constructor.
Porque no te detienen el precio por más de 30, 40 días. Ahorita menos como está la construcción.
Está subiendo por
Yes, Laredo?
No, I was gonna ask because he had said that the constructor had the money. The
No,
It's in the
no, the
construction
city
account.
has it in the
The city
fund.
has it in the
Ah, the
construction
city.
account.
Oh.
The city has it in a fund.
Yeah, it's in the construction account.
What is your current budget
For the bridge department,
for the bridge system? Yeah, what is your current
we
budget?
finished last year at 61 million, and we're anticipating come September 30, we'll finish with about 64 and a half, 65
And what
million.
is your fund balance?
Our general fund,
No,
No.
your fund
Your
balance.
fund balance.
20 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Ken, I want to thank you very much for your presentation. We got to
Thank
move
you,
on.
Ken.
All right.
Thank you very much. It was very informative.
I enjoyed being with you. Hey, send us some information on emails, myself as well as Miss Lee-Wan. Anytime y'all are in the area at the bridges or called and y'all want to see what the bridge is firsthand on walking on it inside, we'll be happy to walk y'all through it, let you see any one of the bridges and see how the weight in motion works, how the trucks come through the lanes, how it reads our axles, weight, all that information. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Love y'all to come join.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Moving
ladies
right
and
along.
gentlemen.
The next thing we have is presentation by staff of the Laredo Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning Organization.
I just wanted to keep the mask on, but I don't know if you have to hear me.
I can hear you.
I know there's some concern, Sherry, about the rising cases.
What?
The rising cases. I know they have told us that we should wear a mask, but I'll take it off so you can hear me better.
Just stay away from us and you're okay.
That will be it. Sure.
Don't talk too loud and that way you
Try
and
not
us
to
drop.
y'all need to hear me. Can you do full screen? Yeah. Well, thank you all very much for inviting us today. I'm going to give a quick overview of the MPO, known as the Laredo County Metropolitan Planning Organization. Currently, I am the interim MPO director. I've been in that position since May after Kerry's departure. And Ms. Gracie Villones will also be presenting a few slides, and she is planner 3 with the MPO. Gracie has been with the city for many years. I've only been with the city for a year, and I've been with the MPO for that same amount of time. Some of you all might have heard, there's been currently a split from the MPO from the planning department. That's why we appointed a separate director. In the past, the planning director was also the MPO director. The interim planning director, and there's conversations about how it's going to play out. So I wanted to give just a quick overview.
Who has a current contract with the state for the MPO process?
It is the city of Laredo, the MPO, and Textiles. So the fiscal agent is the city of Laredo.
I got it.
Great. So what is an MPO? Metropolitan Planning Organization is a transportation policy making and planning body that facilitates the allocation of transportation funds in a region. So in this case, Laredo and portions of Webb County. MPOs are mandated by federal law in areas within urbanized area of 50,000 or more. Once you surpass 200,000, as we did in 2010, we become a transportation management area, and then there's further requirements once you become a transportation management area. There's other things that you have to meet, other projects that you have to deliver as an MPO. So I mentioned, federal law requires metropolitan transportation planning to reflect the region's shared vision for its future, using a comprehensive, cooperative, and continuing planning process. This is known as the 3C process. So there's a lot of misconceptions about what MPOs do, right? So I wanted to just make that clear before we delve further in. So what does an MPO do? We facilitate planning for the overall transportation network, for example, roads, bike and pedestrian facilities, transit, and freight. We work with MPO members to allocate transportation funds appropriately. Who are the MPO members? The city, the county. We inform the public about MPO planning activities, studies, etc. And we adopt federally required performance targets for the MPO planning area. These performance measures come from the federal government, the state sets targets, and then the MPO has to adopt those targets for those performance measures. So what doesn't the MPO do? And this is for sometimes there's a misconception of thinking that MPOs are constructing roads. But they don't. They don't construct roads or other transportation improvements. They don't perform road-related work, such as right-of-way acquisitions or construction. They do not operate transit systems or airports, and they do not dictate what projects are pursued by jurisdictions. So, for example, the city has projects; they're the ones dictating that. If the county has projects, they dictate those projects. What the MPO does is we program them if there's federal funds that are being used for those projects. And again, we don't approve land use decisions, zoning, etc. That's the Planning and Zoning Commission, the City Council, right? You all give your recommendation to City Council. Gracie will just give a little overview of the Laredo Webb County Area Metropolitan Organization.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the purpose and background of the Laredo and Webb County Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, known as LW Campo. Is the organization formerly known as the Laredo Urban Transportation Study, LUTS, and designated by the governor of the state of Texas to serve as a Metropolitan Planning Organization, the MPO, and to provide continuous, cooperative, and comprehensive transportation planning for the Laredo area.
So before we move on, the designated MPO for the Laredo area is the Laredo, or was the Laredo Urban Transportation Study. It's still the same committee. All that happened was through our bylaws, there was a name change to the Laredo Webb County Area MPO. But it's still originally the Laredo Urban Transportation Study.
And that happened last year, in February.
Yes, early 2020.
The MPO mission is to set transportation-related policy, identify existing and future local transportation needs in cooperation with Textiles, and to propose and recommend projects for all modes of transportation, including mass transit and active transportation, with special attention to freight.
So that's our mission, and the conversation we're having in the previous presentation that really helps us to also get ideas. And just so you all know, this won't be the first time that we come to you. We're just giving an overview, but as we do our planning activities and we start working on our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, we'll talk more about, we'll come back to you to make sure that you all are involved in that process, because you all are stakeholders in this planning process.
What percentage of the projects that you have on the, what do you call it, UPT or whatever it is that you have, what percentage are inside the city limits of the city of Laredo?
On TxDOT's UTP? Because the UTP, the Unified Transportation Program, is TxDOT's, right? And then some of those projects make it into our MTP. Right. It's usually about 80% of projects and the funding
are inside the city.
Okay. And we're now at the end. We'll go over some of the list of projects, and I'll show you all that.
Yes, some of the committees that we have is first the policy committee, which is the body that holds and reviews and decision-making authority over transportation planning efforts undertaken by the MPO. Then we have the technical committee. The responsibilities include the professional and technical review of work programs, the policy recommendations, and transportation planning activities. And now recently established the Active Transportation Committee, the ATC, to improve and promote the active modes of mobility.
So the federal government wants to see more.
Why did you create that committee, the Active Transportation Committee?
Well, we adopted.
Is there something called an inactive transportation committee?
Right. No,
Just the word itself, transportation, means it's active.
Right. Active
So
refers to
the active is an oxymoron.
Yeah, it refers active usually refers to non-motorized modes of transport. So bicycling, it's just a term used in the planning field. So.
I understand how it came about. It
Right.
doesn't make sense.
So as Gracie mentioned, the policy committee is the governing committee of the MPO. The committee is chaired by the mayor of the city of Laredo. That's by our bylaws, it's required. And includes as voting members 3 members from city council, one of them that represents the Laredo Mass Transit Board, the Laredo Textile District Engineer, Webb County Judge, and 2 Webb County Commissioners, and 1 member at large.
Who's a member at large?
Right now that is Mr. Humberto Gonzalez.
From Textile?
Yeah, it's actually from Textile.
How can
that
it
he
be
represents.
how can it be a member at large if he's a textile employee?
The policy committee appointed him. So, yeah. But it does, there's no, nothing in the bylaws that says that it can be someone that's in.
Well, but I would
That's
assume
not
it would have
good.
been a member of the general public.
And like you were mentioning before, there's decisions that council makes, but there's also decisions that policy committee makes.
I understand. But
Maybe,
the intent was to get a member. of the
Private
public.
member.
Maybe, Larry, at the next meeting, you could recommend that a member of the planning zone might be that member at large, instead of being someone that might have a conflict of interest.
And right now we're undergoing an MPO process review because of everything that's going on with this bid. So those are things that we're actually discussing about the makeup of the committee. So that's something that I can bring up to the entity that's doing that review. That's the Texas A&M Transportation Institute. They're working on that review for us. We're having several meetings, so that's something that we'll bring up to them.
You're gonna have public meetings?
On that process review,
Yes.
they're going to be presenting at the policy committee meetings, which are public. It's more of an internal thing where they're meeting with staff, they're meeting with the fiscal agent, and they're meeting with county officials just to find out what's going to happen, who's going to be the fiscal agent at the end. It's more of an internal process review. But public will have an opportunity to,
We just need to be more inclusive than exclusive.
yeah,
If
that's
you
what
understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. As I mentioned, I just started in this role in May. There's a lot of things that we want to do. We're evaluating our processes, and we definitely want to be more inclusive. I think that's why we're glad to be here today. Like I said, it won't be our first time here. We'll come back and make sure you all are engaged. So,
Déjame entender un poquito.
sí.
Lo pones a votación de todos los demás.
Cada quien tiene un voto, pero cuando
Tú
sugieres el
sugieres
tema,
el nombramiento del
sí, alguien del comité puede decir, nominar, ¿verdad? A esa persona y luego la comité tiene que tomar su voto.
no nomina.
Pero el intento inicial fue que ese que ya estaba representada en el comité.
Es que yo digo, a mí me informaron que eran puras autoridades.
Pues sí, de la manera que lo pusieron, sí.
Son puras autoridades.
Sí, pero no era así antes.
Pero sí, si podemos hablar con ellos y poner un member de la comunidad, pues el más indicado sería alguien de esta mesa.
O alguien de la comunidad.
Cualquiera de la comunidad.
También.
Y this is the governing body of the MPO. As a matter of fact, I see there's also a technical committee. So the technical committee, you have the planning director, bridge director, as the county planning director. All those are involved in that technical committee to go over more of the technical stuff of the activities, and they give their recommendation to the policy committee. So there is representation from planning in there to that process, but this that you're bringing up about having someone else, maybe from the commission or private at large
Citizen.
a citizen, and like you mentioned, that was the intent. And this is per our bylaws, right? It requires you to have 1 member at large. It doesn't really specify, it just says member at large, but the intent is, so like I mentioned, you get a citizen.
And you get a lot of assistance in the, do they show up?
Yes.
Those members, they
Yes.
show up for the meeting?
Yeah, we've been meeting quorum, meetings.
How often are your meetings?
once a month as well. We meet at council chambers. They just recently changed the meeting from the third Monday to the third Wednesday of the month.
This time it'll be August 8th. Correct. This one was approved in 2004 by the governor. It hasn't changed. The only thing that changed was that we became a transportation management area. You see, it's the city of Laredo and portions of Webb County, not all of Webb County, and the little Belleville there as well, but not. So right now, this is the MPO staff chart. There should be an MPO director. So right now it's an interim director. Now we have 3 planners. We have a planner that does short range planning. This was basically Leones. A planner doing long range. A planner that should be doing GIS. Or this is a vacancy we have. We have 1 admin assistant, and we share an admin secretary to help with payroll and stuff like that at the planning department. So 50% is charged to the MPO. The other 50% is charged to the planning department. So what is the funding that we see as an MPO? Really the funding that we see as an MPO are these transportation planning funds that are channeled from the federal government to TxDOT to provide funding for us on a reimbursement basis. So this is why we need a fiscal agent, because we don't get that money up front. And these funds are what helps us do studies, plans, helps us hire staff, right? So it helps with operations. So that's really the bulk of the money we get. Recently we just programmed $1.3 million for studies and staff through our UPWP, which I'll mention in a bit. Now for projects, there's 12 categories that TxDOT has, but the MPO has to say in 2 of those categories. So in consultation with TxDOT, the MPO selects projects funded by TxDOT funding categories 2, Metropolitan and Urban Area Corridor projects, and 7, Metropolitan Mobility Rehabilitation. Currently, this category 7, they've used those funds for the HR Ruthinger project. I believe it's all been allocated to there. And this category 2 funds, they're using them for the expansion of Loop 20 to I-69 and all those overpasses along the loop that are going to be coming in the next few years. All those overpasses that we're doing from the airport all the way to
International.
Correct. Thank you. And then category 9, this is a transportation alternative set-aside program. And this is what helps fund projects like active transportation projects for pedestrian. So we'll talk a little bit about that right away, just to see what projects were awarded. This is the grant application process. The MPO policy committee is able to select who receives these funds. Since 2016, these are the projects that have been funded. 2016, the Zacate Creek Hike and Bike Trail was funded for $1 million. Rio Vega Hike and Bike Trail, that's still under construction, was $897,000.
Which one is that?
This one, River Vega Hike and Bike Trail, that's the one along the Rio Grande, near the bridge.
Where?
Along the river, and it extends up to.
Are you talking about the River Bend project that we started in 2004?
Maybe it might be that same one. So this was awarded in, I didn't put the years here, but this was awarded, I believe, in 2017. They awarded the $197,000, and I believe right now they're starting construction on this one. Right? I don't think they finalized it. And then they have Metro applied for some funds too for their bus station, their bus shelters. They got awarded in 2018 and again in 2020. They have 3 years to complete the projects or to commence construction, actually, not to complete them. And recently, the other projects that were awarded was Safe Routes to School on Plum Street and on F Street. And then the East Chapon Creek Hike and Bike Connector. This is going to connect Century City to the Independence Hills subdivision park. So these projects still have not commenced. They've been awarded the funding. So they recently entered into agreements with TxDOT. That's what happens is once the projects are selected, the money, TxDOT has the money, and they enter an agreement with the project recipient, which in this case is the city of Laredo.
Does TxDOT select the contractor and the designer, or
No.
does the city?
The city does. The city does. I think they might have some say, but the city selects that. And the MPO also don't have too much of a say on that. It's really just awarding them. But then again, there's repercussions, right, if they don't meet the requirements. So just to go over the Mpo Planning Documents, as I mentioned, we have the Unified Planning Work Program. This is an annual work program and budget that identifies all the planning level activities, and I'll give you an overview of that in more detail. So we do this every year. That's where I mentioned where we programmed 1.3 million. Then the short range plan is the Transportation Improvement Program, and this is based on the long range Metropolitan Transportation Plan and covers a period of 4 years. So that's where we program the projects, and right now we'll get into more details on that too. And finally, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, that is our long range plan. It is financially constrained plan for the region, covering a planning horizon of 25 years. The current one right now was adopted in 2020, and it has a horizon to 2045. So in 2025, we need to adopt another one with a horizon of 2050. That's updated every 5 years. And then we'll go into the next slides. The UPWP, that's, as I mentioned, like our budget. We go into the studies that we actually program. Like I said, here we're able to say what staff we want to hire, what studies we're going to do, and that's how we program our money. So the studies that we've programmed for this coming year, it's a long-range freight mobility plan. That's been in the UPWP for several years now. We're hoping that this year it gets done. Right? It's been rolled over. So we're hoping to work with a consultant for that. So hopefully we'll go out for RFPs soon. This is programmed for the coming fiscal year, so we can't really start till October. Currently, we're doing a transit comprehensive operational analysis, and Metro approached us about wanting to do an overhaul of their transit system. So they're doing this comprehensive analysis, working with consultants. Right now, they're in the stakeholder phase. I don't know if they've reached out to you all or not, but maybe there's been some invitations that you'll have received from El Metro for that. So hopefully, after that's done, they'll come up with a plan of how to improve our transit system. Something that came out of the active transportation plan we did is a sidewalk gap analysis. This is to help the state identify existing gaps in the sidewalk network and to help local officials prioritize using strategic improvements, right? To do strategic improvements based on key criteria. So instead of just each district saying, "Oh, we want to improve sidewalks here or there," it's like actually coming up with an actual analysis and telling them, "Okay, and use this criteria for you to fund sidewalks in your council district."
One, the long range freight mobility plan,
yes.
that was implemented or tried to be implemented about 7 years back, if I remember well, and that was gonna generate a flow or an easier flow of freight. That was one of the issues that came out on when they stopped the expansion of the bridges. So why are we doing this right now and didn't continue previous? I know that just came to the picture. Do you have any idea? Because the planning of the bridges, the new master plan, goes in conjunction with that.
Right. So, and this, I don't know why it wasn't done before. It might have been just, didn't have time to have other priorities. But I can tell you when we do this plan, we're definitely going to consult all the other plans that exist right now, including that bridge master plan. It would have been ideal, like I said, do it in conjunction. It's definitely going to look at that as well. But this is going to focus not only on the bridge, but on freight overall in the community. And hopefully we can look at different things in there and hopefully also help with some of these issues. That's what's important.
So what is the priority on that long range? Because I noticed that the master plan for the bridge is coming up real soon.
Yes.
How are they going to incorporate it without that study? Because it doesn't seem that the bridge is doing any of that study. I mean, they're concentrating on their own master plan. See? And so that being said, I think that's a priority. But go ahead.
It's a priority for us as well. Like I said, it's programmed for next year, so we can't start just yet. But we're going to do that and make sure we consult with all the stakeholders in that process. And again, the MPO, it's not just the city; it's also the county. So we're looking at a bigger boundary area. But all these points that y'all are bringing up are important for us to consider when we're doing these projects. And when this project gets started, we'll make sure that there's an involvement process for y'all to be involved as well. I mentioned the sidewalk gap analysis. Metro asked us if we can program a bus rapid transit study. They tried to do this several years ago to just check the feasibility of doing bus rapid transit in the community. So they want to look at that again. And then finally, something that our partner assess the current transportation system's vulnerabilities to major transportation incidents or weather-related hazards, the existence of alternative routes, and the ability to recover from those incidents. So that's something that we're programming as well, and something that a lot of MPOs are doing today.
There you go, Larry.
So these studies, like they are programmed in the UPWP. One of the studies that had been programmed before in the UPWP was this active transportation plan, and we did that in-house, and it's one of the first plans done in-house in many years. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. So the MTP, the 2020 to 2045 MTP serves as a comprehensive multimodal guide for making transportation improvements and investments in Laredo for the next 25 years. And it's required to be updated every 5 years, as I had mentioned. Right now, our network is up to date. We work with staff from Textiles and TTI on that. There's going to be lots of engagement opportunities leading up to that. So when you all want to talk about projects and things like that, or what projects we need to consider, it's very important that you all be involved in this planning process. So we make sure that we put those projects in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. The only caveat is that the projects that go on there have to be fiscally constrained, meaning that there has to be available funding, or that you can show that there's a reasonable amount of funding to be able to fund those projects. But then you can also include something like a wish list in that plan for unfunded projects, and I'll touch on that at the very end. So then from the MTP, the projects that are on there, then they get programmed into the short range plan, which is the Transportation Improvement Program. It doesn't always happen so flawlessly, right? Sometimes a new project comes up, the city wants to do something, and there's federal funds for it, they need a program. So when that happens, what needs to happen is that we need to amend our Metropolitan Transportation Plan and amend the TIP. But ideally, the projects that are on the TIP are supposed to be coming from the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. They need to be on both. So if it's on the TIP, it has to be mentioned on the MTP. Like I said, sometimes there's a new project that comes up, needs to be programmed, and we go ahead and amend the MTP as well. So on the TIP, it's all your projects that receive federal funds and have all the funding available already that has been allocated, or other regionally significant projects. So these are the projects that are programmed in the current TIP, 2021 to 2024 TIP. The next TIP will be 2023 to 2026. And we'll start working on that in the next few months, and then have that by mid next year. So there's construction and inspection booths at World Trade Bridge. That's some of what
What does reeling flexa lane in Las Cruces mean?
Really? I think there's a typo there. It should be realigning.
Oh,
Yeah, excuses for that.
we're gonna do that back up to.
Oh, you're still gonna do that? I thought we had dropped that project.
It's on the tip, so it's programmed here. I guess that, I mean,
What is the benefit of that project?
I think the issue is just on the movement there on Mines Roads, and I think it's right where the Pizza Hut is on Mines Road. It's not completely aligned.
That's
It's over, so there's
But you're
What is the traffic generation going through there?
right now.
It's a dead end.
Yeah, there's the traffic generation is not that great. So to do a project like that, what are you putting into that, 2 million?
Yeah, 1.9.
To me, it
This is
doesn't make any sense.
the city, and I can tell you.
And I know where it originated, okay? I mean, you don't have to give me the history, I'm very familiar where it originated.
This is a city, and they're using category 10 and 3 funds from TxDOT. So those
Yeah.
are not ones that were selected by.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot, and I'll explain. TxDOT has projects too that they work with on the city. So if they're receiving any funding from TxDOT federal funds, they want to program it in here. So the MPO didn't always select those projects, but they have to be programmed in this document.
Pero ahí no hay mucho tráfico.
No, y por eso es
Esa parte,
importante.
casualmente en esa parte no hay mucho tráfico.
Sí, por eso es importante
Quizá
el
convendría
proceso.
más en las cruces reparar la inundación cuando ellos se
Sí,
inundan.
ahí sí
Tal vez
está
meter
horrible
un
antes de
tubo,
llegar al...
Tal vez ese dinero ponérselo a las cruces para que no se haga flow.
Por eso es muy importante que personas como ustedes estén en el proceso, ¿verdad? La verdad no sé cómo lo van a hacer antes, ¿verdad? Pero sé que hoy en adelante queremos estar seguros que la gente que debe estar en la mesa esté ahí para dar esas recomendaciones para cuando están programando proyectos así, que sean proyectos que se necesitan. ¿verdad? Es algo que queremos hacer.
Por ahí está la...
Yo transito ahí todos los días.
Sí, yo
Ahí
transito.
está su bodega.
Ahí
ahí a un
está la
lado.
bodega nuestra
Y
y lo
no hay
que sí...
tráfico. Yo no
Ahí
veo
no hay
mucho
tráfico,
sentido
lo que
fecha.
sí... De ahí en fuera, para alinear la calle con flecha lane, nada que ver.
Sí, no sé
Más
tanto
que
la historia
nada
de
es
por
la
qué.
inundación
Podemos
ahí.
aprovechar más para poner un tubo.
Un tubo o algo.
De llegar a Pizza Hut,
Un
y es
arroyo,
una-
Es un arroyo.
Es un arroyo que está ahí.
se me bajan como
It
7
feeds into Manados.
y carros se han
So
quedado
what's the
ahí.
Yeah,
selection
what do I
process? Is there a
have?
committee that's
It
in
takes
charge
water out.
of reviewing and?
The technical committee.
It's their technical committee.
Okay,
Process. I can tell you, I mean, I've been studying other MPOs, what they do and what they do, how formal it is, and I want to make sure that we do things right and we have a good process. That's what we're trying to do, and we're working with our different partners like HWA, TTI, to make sure we do that correctly. Textiles.
Well, I think that's one project right. I don't think anybody here on this commission sees the need to do that alignment.
And I can take this back and talk to you.
That
I
project
think
has
you
been
need
on
to
the
do
books
that.
for 16 years.
It's been there, I don't remember who the council member that put it on there, no me acuerdo quién era. Joan Dale.
Ahí lo tenemos.
So when we start the TIP process again, program the next one,
This needs to be removed, and I think what they're talking about makes a lot more sense, is there's that creek that needs.
Que fueran a todos los proyectos, porque luego es muy fácil decir, vamos a hacer esto y así, y no se dan cuenta exactamente porque no han ido físicamente a donde van a hacer las cosas.
I think
Y
that
no mucho. Se sube 6.
They're familiar, the city's familiar with
Ah,
that.
sí,
It's a
sí,
flooding.
sí.
and
the
it's-
dynamics
it's
are
familiar with it.
changing and they've changed.
That's more of a priority than realignment.
The
I don't
realignment.
even know if you got, there was an issue with right of way there, if I remember from years ago.
right?
I don't know if you all got the right of way, I don't think you did.
Evaluate that.
Reevaluate it. You still got the Colton Road Santa Maria Great Separation Interchange?
Yeah, they're still, they haven't finalized that, it's still on there. I believe.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Does it really make sense to do this project? Because you're bottlenecking everything coming over the Mines Road, I'm sorry, over Santa Maria into 35.
Right.
So does it really make sense? Really, no. Data right now, how many trip generations are done on Colton Road that are tractor trailers?
Right, I don't have that data.
Because I mean, to
we
me,
get
that would be the most important thing is, okay, well, we got $21 million. I don't remember, what was the thinking, Larry, back then when we
Ahí
talked
sí
about
me
that
estás
thing? What
acomodando.
was it?
because we were gonna do an alternative to 1472.
Okay.
And we were gonna do the grade separation and come in with a road through.
The project may still be a viable project because I think one of the things that I'm gonna talk to you about is what he just talked about.
Is to get the traffic.
It's the
out
river
that way.
road
Yes.
that we from the Mines Road, going back through the old Coca-Cola, CP&L, and all that area, and ended up in Riverbank.
Yeah.
That was gonna be strictly a passenger vehicle roadway. Free up a little bit more capacity, and it ain't gonna be much, but it'll free up some.
And the city bought almost all the acreage all the way across.
We had, actually, the plan is there too, the plans have already been done.
Yeah, there's a
They're in,
river
they're in
road.
engineering
Okay.
on that particular. Manadas, that was our biggest headache.
Right.
That was a very expensive crossing, but it doesn't have to be expensive because you can also probably use a low water crossing to get through it until you get funds to construct the bridge.
Do you remember if funding had been identified?
No,
No.
no, it had. I wanted to bring up for the MPO is that project. To 1472, this is one way to do it, and it's a much faster way to do it. Much faster way.
La luz, la
La
energía.
luz de donde está el executive, donde era el executive building, que está el
Sí,
BBVA.
pero sí, no le están comprando parte del terreno para
Sí,
hacer,
cierto.
¿verdad?
¿Cuánto desaparece? ¿Te estás viendo tú al desaparecer?
Ah, sí, cierto.
Quieres a cruzar
They
también.
bought it.
El Gambit.
They bought it. We bought that warehouse
Aparte del Gambit.
5-6 years
Parte del
ago.
Gambit.
Yeah.
This project has been around, I've been gone 8 years. That project was already there 4 or 5 years before that, so it's been around.
Tanto camión, donde hay más camiones en donde te digo yo, donde está el Taco Palenque, que es
Sí.
una cuadra más hacia allá.
Man Road.
Man Road.
Man Road.
El Walker
Ahí sí
Plaza.
hay, porque
Sí,
todas
ahí
las
hay.
bodegas es más rápido. Exactamente.
Pero sí.
Lo que pasa, Denise, es que some of those projects are 13 years old.
Yeah, that's about a 15-year-old project.
Antes sí había mucho
The
trabajo.
money's there.
Y ahorita
Taking that money and maybe looking at channeling it into the river road. I mean, if we're pretty serious about transportation,
It would make better sense.
it would make better
So
sense.
leading up to the next TID and the NTP, we're going to make sure to have workshops before we can have these conversations. So, you know,
The thing is, there's only gonna be a lot of us that have been around for a while that know what the hell went on 25 years ago.
Riverbank can get all the way to Indian Sunset
yes.
from downtown if you use all the right of way that was acquired.
Yeah.
And you come around the Riverbank Road that comes under World Trade and it comes back into Indian Sunset in the back.
Yeah. Got it.
So, Commissioner, good point. So back then, when these projects were presented, there was a need at the time. Now, 15 years forward, there's no longer possibly that need. So, do y'all reevaluate to make sure that?
Well, I think
You're gonna get done through
I
that
think that's
process.
what's happened right now is this new MPO system has gotten created. One is a brand new interim director. You know, it's gonna take some time to go through everything that's there.
So we're evaluating, right now what I'm doing and staff's doing, we're evaluating our processes, right?
Te admiro tu entusiasmo. Lo que no me checa a mí es 21 millions para un proyecto donde ya no pasan camiones. Por ahí no pasan. Yo te sugiero que compren una para tú en cada calle vas a ver el tráfico y te va a dar un reporte a tu computadora y puedes hacer una simulación con trailers, cuánto tiempo pasa y cuánto tarda. Es muy sencillo, no es costoso y tendrías datos más reales. A lo mejor en toda esa área, ¿no? Pero ahora ya no hay. Ahora también Dani tiene razón. Voy al banco, al Compass Bank y al banco. Medir, necesitaríamos el aparato y medir cuántos camiones pasan. Y ahí tú ya podrías ver.
Texas,
Yo sé que se hizo
Texas acaba de mandar de diferentes lugares para que les sugieras.
Sí, nosotros trabajamos cerca con Textiles, pero mucho de eso de la generación de datos así viene de Textiles, pero también ciertas cosas así que tienen cosas más técnicas. Eso es algo que también queremos ver, cómo podemos expandir la organización del MPO para hacer más cosas nosotros también, ¿no? It was just, I think, based differently.
So the total road is gonna be 48 million dollars?
So they have programmed.
Way to 1472?
Correct. I think it extends a little bit out east of 35. That's the plan. That is the connection from FM 1472 to
But
I-35.
you're not gonna bridge 35, right?
No, not right. It's not right now.
You're not having a great separation on the Joe Woodinger at 35?
I'm not sure. I don't know the answer. I can't.
Well, because I'm looking at the Ruthinger Road, there it says 0.1 mile east of Beltway.
Right.
And so, well, that puts you right on, I guess,
It just
35.
says the west frontage.
It said frontage road.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
puts you
west,
right on the
it's
frontage
not.
road, but,
Yeah.
well, that's not doing any good for you at
No.
all, because all they're doing is channeling
The
traffic
plan
back.
la cerca de Ruthinger.
I believe the Durford plan you all approved shows it going east. I mean, I don't think there's been.
I guess we'll see if there's another interchange plan, that was gonna be north of Unitech,
It is.
okay? Is it on this?
It's a tunnel textile plan.
Okay, well,
Yeah, so that's another. I think that one was.
yeah.
Yeah, let me see. I don't think that's.
Está en el UTP de textile.
You know, for what
Because
year?
we had talked about
I
that
think it's
10
22.
years ago.
No, it's 22 or 23.
I don't think they have the money, do they?
See, they do.
So like that project, once it's on the UTP, eventually, once you're ready, we have the funding, we'll program it in our TIP.
Because
There's
that's
projects
a
that
very,
aren't
that's a very critical
In fact-
interchange. Uniroyal is being developed, the old,
The track.
the tire track, that's almost 2,000 acres.
Correct.
And there's no way out. Right now, the congestion is tremendous on there, even though there's only 2 ways in and out.
El domingo salió el environmental on that, the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's on the UTP. They're out doing the environmental.
Environment, okay, well then that means
So
that
they're
project's
getting ready to
funded.
do construction.
That means that
You see that
project is going forward.
On the
That's the good
existing
side.
UTP or the updated one, the one they're updating?
It's the one that was done,
2030.
2 weeks ago,
Oh, okay, the new one.
the new one.
I think it's still in draft form, right? Let's see.
Pero the environmental was on in the paper Sunday.
Okay, well, that's good news.
A lot of the projects programmed for fiscal year 2023, is that's now in the SIP, are those interchanges on Route 20, right?
Yeah.
The reconstruction, here,
Now,
National.
the cost that you have on there, that's your estimated cost today.
Yeah, these are a year of expenditure costs of,
Okay, so they're already factored in.
yeah. So
Okay.
again, the cost estimates are done by TxDOT usually, but it's a year of expenditure cost.
Okay.
That's a good question. And in 2024, continuing that Route 20 reconstruction, again, a lot of those TxDOT funds that MPOs can select are going to those projects of the interchange at the airport. That concludes those on the tip right now. And then talking about the UTP, right, TxDOT's Unified Transportation Program, they have an unfunded projects list, which is also included in the MCP. They're mostly looking at 16 projects in the area of IH35. These are, lane extensions, different things like that, along 59, which some other projects try to improve that. Route 20, Anaheim, US 83, by Seal Road, and the proposed outer loop. Back in February, we had a workshop with the city, the county, the TxDOT. It was a public workshop, and at that meeting, TxDOT presented these 16 projects, right? They're pretty much just mentions the roadway. If you want more details, I have a sheet here that shows like exactly what they're doing on each one. Basically, these are the different project areas. But the committee was able to rank, or actually everybody that attended that workshop were able to rank the projects that do not have funding. So again, if they do not have all the funding identified, we cannot program it in our transportation improvement program. So if you want a project like by Seal to be programmed, then we need to make sure we find the funding. They're estimating 31.5 million. The cost 10 million. You can add 10 million to that to make it 41.5. That is the right of way being provided by Killam. But the actual cost is 31.5. My understanding is right now there is 14 million committed, and that's coming from the city, RMA. So this is a project that RMA is the Regional Mobility Authority that they're carrying out, but they are still missing the difference, right? Oh,
17,000.
Yes.
17 million.
so
From my
that's what
understanding, Textile had committed to that project too. I don't remember what,
17 millones.
Yeah, so-
14.
Textile had committed an amount of money to that project too, and the city was only short several $1 million. I don't remember what it was.
So right now it's 14,000. I believe the city's put in some money already, RMA. And I think TechStop is putting in the UTP to try to find funding for it.
Henry, bueno, según esto, eran 17 millones.
It's in the infrastructure.
It's in the infrastructure.
Yeah, he put it in there. Yeah.
That's what they're waiting, yeah.
Yeah.
Son 17 millones.
It's in the infrastructure as an earmark if it passes.
The MPO Policy Committee provided a letter of support for that purposes to the RMA. So there's one that the Policy Committee, the county, the city all said it's an important project. So that's something that, hopefully the funding can be identified. Once it is, we can make sure that it's programmed in our transportation improvement program. The other one, Outer Loop, was ranked lower. Again, that's a project that they're still hoping to do sometime in the future.
Is the outer loop projected still 5 miles from the other loop?
I don't have the exact alignment, but I know they had done an alignment study.
Yeah.
I believe.
I think the alignment was just slightly moved.
Yeah.
And that alignment has been in place. Betty Flores was the mayor, and she and I flew the outer loop.
So
We
what they
flew
wanted
the
to
outer
do,
loop on a helicopter, just checking it out.
I know that what they're talking about is maybe doing this outer loop first, starting the first phase between 359 and 59.
Yeah.
And they're thinking about how that maybe could align with like YSCO coming down.
Yeah.
359 and 59?
Yeah.
Between 359 and 59 to start that phase first.
Yeah.
That's again something that they're proposing.
Yeah, I think the only issue we ran in there, you were gonna run into Killam.
But-
Domingo.
Well, we tried to, I think they were moving it to try to clear some of that.
Corre 2000 acres para arriba
But I know that Herd is right there, and so is Killam.
y la trae enterrada.
Yeah.
And at the end, we do a lot of things, right? We look at highways,
Well,
roads,
pretty good.
active transportation. Was an active
What we
transportation
wanted to
picture.
see was your projects, and I think that's what this commission was really interested in, seeing where your projects are, what's funded, what's proposed, getting some feedback from us, especially like on that
Yes, that helps.
grade separation at Santa Maria and Colton that maybe should go to funding the river road.
That's a lot of money to put in.
That should be more than enough to do a river road.
Yo te sugeriría
3-lane road or 4-lane road.
que te acercaras a las personas que aquí tienes, que son un tesoro, de que tienen mucho tiempo aquí, que saben de estos proyectos de su inicio. Y entonces sí son clave para que puedan ayudarte a saber dónde están los proyectos, como comentó Chairman, que está en el Engineering Department, no sé qué, o sea, eso es lo que deben de anotar para que ustedes puedan también, que vienes llegando, que traes mucha motivación, que traes energía, para que puedas enterarte un poco más de eso.
A great source for a workshop.
Yes, that's what we want to do more of, things like that.
Very good. One, thank you very much.
Thank you all for
Thank
your
you all
time.
very much.
Thank
Good
you very much.
presentation.
We'll be
Thank
back
you very
again.
much.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. We have review and consideration of the following master plans. The first one, review and consideration of the revision of Las Fincas subdivision. Master plan intended residential, multifamily, open space. Okay?
Thank you, sir. For the record, the applicant is Laredo BLJ LLC. The engineer director is Flores Nance Engineering. Approximately 227 acres located south of State Highway 59 and east of PG Ranch Road. The zoning for the 1,000 lot is R1A. The proposed use is residential multifamily open space. General location. Aerial view. Street view. And this is the proposed master plan. Any comments from planning? Additional comments from planning? Fire, water utilities, traffic safety. Texas Department of Transportation, Parks and Leisure. And the proposed motion.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Rick. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Wayne, Corvus Engineering. We generally agree with all the comments here for the master plan. I want to go over a few that we've already gone over with planning.
Okay.
Under the scenes. I don't have a really an overhead, but I think you guys can all see from here. The first comment is number 5 from planning. It says that extend the road in either phase 3 or phase 4 to provide another connection to E.G. Ranch Road. We agree with that, and we've talked with planning. It's going to be this third road. It's going to be over here, and here's E.G. Ranch Road, and they're saying, hey, lose one of these lots and get another connection over here. We've agreed that it's going to be this third road in here, and so I believe we are, right, Robert? We're in agreement with where that's going to be. So I'm just making it for a matter of record. I can leave this with them. The next item is number 6. So we agree with that comment. Provide relief through an additional connection to State Highway 359, as a high volume of traffic will be involved. We want to point out, first I want to give the Commission a little bit of background on that. What they're saying is, hey, give yourself another connection to State Highway 359. I'm going to answer that in 2 parts. First of all, here we are, right here. We have to go north. There's existing developments directly to the north. The way that we're going to get through 59 is by embracing the long-range thoroughfare plan. The white roads right here are the long-range thoroughfare plan. We have, our master plan has exits along Los Presidentes that will eventually be extended and come up to this road here, and Los Presidentes also continues along this way, which has other connections that will get the traffic up to 359. We're embracing it. So what I'm answering is, our master plan does everything that we can do to get our future traffic up to 359. Okay, so we're addressing it, and what we're going to do, and then this kind of answers Fire's question to where, well, that's a lot more than fire, but we will also extend another exit right here in the upper left-hand side. And the reason that we're going to do that is that this is a remaining section that's still owned by E.G. Ranch. Without us doing that, they're going to end up landlocked. And then that So
that cul-de-sac will be blown out and
that cul-de-sac will be blown out and extended this way. This is also going to take care of Fire's comment that will enough. They'll have one way in and one way out. This will address that comment as well. So we're addressing number 6. We agree with number 6. But what we're doing is we're showing the commission the wheres, and this is how. And we have gone over this with the planning department and the fire department.
Wayne, does E.G. Ranch then go all the way up to 359? And is that vacant property, or is that part where that flea market is, or what is
E.G.
that?
Ranch, yes, runs next to the flea market, and it has a light, it has a signal.
No, I know where E.G. Ranch is. What I'm saying is the way this is.
It's east of. It's
So
east.
where you're punching out the street,
Yes.
and now that says E.G. Ranch property.
Yes.
Does that property go all the way to 359?
No, it does not. It stops along the same line.
Okay, it's long, it's the same as your plat line.
Yes, but the thing is that
In front of those houses.
yeah, if you look at the
Yeah.
and then we can't go north to 359 even if we wanted to. There's just stuff there, and not only that. That's not what happened.
I agree. It's just,
But we're embracing the long-range thoroughfare plan, and we're leaving plenty of us. I counted it. We have, our master plan has got 8 total exits out of it. So, I mean, we're not shying away from that. We're going to embrace.
I know, but is it built?
No. We're going to be building it with this next phase that we'll be talking about.
But is Los Presidentes right now, because Los Presidentes, if I'm not mistaken, is being pushed out all the way. The question that I have for you is this particular road going to be able to hook up all the way out to the loop? Los Presidentes.
Whenever Los Presidentes is completed,
Yeah.
this will take you.
Where is Los Presidentes right now, to what area, or how far in terms of a mile?
No, they're barely approaching.
Miles, more or less, in roadway?
I don't even want to throw a number out there. It's a ways. It's a ways. They have to get through. They're not even to the EG Ranch West. So,
Okay, now, let me ask you something else. In terms of capacity right now of EG Ranch Road, that's a 5 lane road. Now, we have a couple of schools on there, right?
that's correct.
So,
Yeah.
you're proposing 1,000 lots eventual build out. And so the question comes in, okay, if road, there is no way in or out at this point. So how do you handle that?
One of the things that we're being and we're going to do that, and I think that's what
You're
we're
gonna
going
do
to
it
do.
too?
Yeah.
The build out for the 1,000 homes is
In the aggressive market, that'd be, I mean, that's got to be 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah, I mean,
So you have an opportunity to be able to work these roads and get some of it done.
we'll do
before-
it.
before-
And like I said, we have 8 connections everywhere, so we're leaving opportunities open everywhere.
Actually, what I see only one connection, and you're at. You will connect to those roads in the future, and then you're coming back and you're asking for approval on phase 3, which only will connect to one road. Now, outlet, one inlet, one outlet, Ingress, Egress. I don't see any secondary inlet and outlet into this area. So how are you gonna connect? You're assuming that those roads are gonna be created in the future. So what happens, you're asking to start phase 3. Phase 3. And that's not proper because actually we're going against the ordinance by providing one entrance, Ingress and Egress, for in order for me personally to consider this, then I would actually ask that we have an additional entrance so you can create actually flow of traffic through the whole subdivision instead of creating only an what I think you're trying to do, and this is my personal opinion, you're starting to develop from the back to the front by selling this property and gaining gaining access to a second, third, and fourth phase. But what's going to happen with the people that you develop the area for phase 2? They're caught with one Ingress and Egress. That's it, and that's against the ordinance. So if you can tell me that where you're going to have the second inlet for that particular phase, then I think that we might consider the master plan. Otherwise, this master plan is not good. This master plan does not comply with the ordinances. Because you're basing the access from the area and out of the area on an assumption. You're saying when this is coming in, when this is going to happen, when this is being developed. But you don't even own the section that will connect you out. At least I didn't see it. So that's, Mr. Chairman, that's my comment. I think that with all due respect, we should really look closely as to how we're gonna move the traffic in this area. I don't know if Mr. McGee is here, Danny, you didn't show up today?
Unfortunately, no.
No, they're at the budget hearings.
But But the way I see it, sir, I see it that we only have one entrance, and you were right. In case we have a problem on the road, Easy Ranch, we won't be able to get the people out.
I understand, Commissioner Dominguez. One thing I want to, we are addressing all the comments, and I know the traffic's had a look at this. I can't control things. This is very common for master plans to come in. Someone has to go first, and we're one of the ones that is going first, and this is a common occurrence for this master plan and several others. Whoever's first is almost always in this situation. But we have to let ourselves, the only person that can be completely tied in is the last guy in the area that comes in. The other thing that I think is really important here is that this is not an introduction of this master plan. We've had a land use change. There was an area that was commercial in phase 3 that we converted to residential. That triggered us to come back here for a master plan revision. So I know that doesn't make any of your points unvalid, but this is not an introduction. As a matter of fact, the phase 1 that you can see has been constructed, and this this master plan has been vetted. It's kind of, we're resubmitting it because we had a land use change, and we're trying to address every comment, and we do agree with everything.
No, but actually you're not addressing it. I mean, and don't get me wrong, this is a good project, provided that you would provide the access, the 2 access into the area, redevelop. Like the one, I'm going to give you an example. The Colts of Winfield, they already provided all the entrances, and they haven't even started developing.
They own all of the frontage along the way. They have a completely different circumstance than us.
I agree with you.
Okay.
But on this particular case, you are assuming that you will be able to tap. And that's, to me, Mr. Chairman, I mean, that's approving something that we don't even know how it's going to go. The community members that are going to be residing in that area, see, they're going to question, how did we approve something that is against the ordinance? That's the way I see it.
Johnny?
The way I'm seeing it here, and the way I've heard Mr. Nance speak, is that he's pretty much agreeing to the comments, and he's just stating the roads. He also did say he's agreed to a traffic impact analysis as well, which would probably answer those concerns that you possibly had. So, I mean, it's a master plan. He's not asking to strike any comments. I think that if anything were to come up to where roads cannot connect or that an additional collector would be needed, I think at that point that would be discussed, and it would, at that point, it would be addressed.
If the traffic impact analysis says this case can't move forward, then it can't. That's what we have. That's what we hired.
We need the traffic impact analysis first.
That is comment that is in here under textile comments and under traffic comments, and we're going to agree to those comments.
I guess a critical factor as to how, and again, the other thing we I guess to take into consideration is right now, like you said, I'm coming in, number 1. So the number 1 guy is always the one that's going to have to front what's going to happen in the area. The biggest problem that I see in that area right now is 359 is developed. It's got all that area up there where it's really hard to punch something out unless you buy a property out. Okay? But the transportation impact analysis is going to tell. Right now, let's assume that you're looking at approving phase 3, right? It's also as a preliminary. Phase 3 is how many lots? About 200?
Yeah, around that.
Muscle metals? So you're going to be able to probably develop 200 lots on our master plan. But if the traffic impact analysis says that's all we can do, then they're going to have to look at because that's going to determine a lot right now. I mean, yes, the master plan is telling you the vision of what they want to do, and I get it. But we also get the picture of 1,000 lots. Today's market is probably 4,000 vehicles brought into the area without the school traffic. There's no other subdivisions that, well, there's only one other subdivision that kind of feeds into that right now, E.G. Ranch Road and the schools. So I think maybe the TIA will help figure out what has to happen after you do, or if phase 3 comes in.
How long will that take?
TIA?
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna be before the one-stop shop, so that has to be done in 2 months, 3 months.
Has to do it before,
We can't get to
phase
final.
3 would come back for final.
What happened is that they're bringing before us a master plan with one entrance. That's a case for this. So this is not about the TAA. They can do it. They can. The traffic is going to be moving in and out. So even with the fire department, and I would ask Mr. Dominguez if that would be in compliance for us to approve it with one entrance.
Well, it's Chief Dominguez for the more than one way in. The only thing is the fire code does have an exception that says that if they're showing future punch outs that we can accept it. And the reason that it makes that allowance because then it'd be very difficult for developments to go forward because at some areas where those punch outs are shown. Now, when Kirby was here, we had discussed with Kirby that they're showing us punch outs to properties they do not own. How are we going to work with that? What Kirby had said, a punch out, whoever develops the next property has to honor that punch out. So that's entrances for emergency access, for just day-to-day traffic, but they're showing it to us, and the code allows for that. Future developments, moving those access points out of there, and percent.
You see, because you agree with me, that means that that I'm bringing because my point is valid. What's the difference in bringing the correct information for us, which should have been for us without the second interest as per ordinance? So this should be. We have two options. Whether we table it or we deny it, that's the way I see it. So
Let me ask planning.
go ahead.
Commissioner Dominguez, right now is different means of ingress and egress. Now, you guys made those comments, approve. It's would be what?
So one of the items that we had put in here in our comments and is we wanted to ensure that on the master plan is E.G. Ranch Road, according to traffic and TxDOT, determine the appropriate timing of phases to ensure that the traffic generated by this element does not result in a load of service. So our logic breaks if the TIA results and says, wait a minute, that one entrance that we have right now cannot handle it anymore. So we put that in there on purpose to be.
You understand that, they will only be able to develop maybe one phase if the TIA says you can't do no more based on traffic on this master plan.
Mines Road.
Okay, and I also get the other issue that, yes, the properties around you are out of your control.
Yes.
Hey, we stops
That from growing.
That 1,000.
So
If the TIA determines the capacity of E.G. Ranch Road is only gonna be so much, that limits that master plan, they won't be able to grow anymore.
So assuming that we approve the master plan, it will not be appropriate to approve any construction or any approval on phase 3 until we get the TIA?
Well, I know phase 3 is on as a preliminary, and in a preliminary, he has to go back to the one-stop shop with the TIA. The TIA is gonna tell the one-stop shop, city engineers and everybody else, this is the capacity of this particular development at this point. That's all I can handle.
It's a comment on the preliminary plat.
Yes.
Again, the TIA will come back and I'm
It's
going
the
to agree
same,
with that twice.
in other words, that's the control of this master plan. That TIA capacity of E.G. Ranch Road and 359. Is that comment right there, number 7, is the control for the planning department in terms of you can't bring any more faces in if there's only so much roadway capacity.
And I don't want to emphasize too much or make it too
I
long,
mean-
Mr. Chairman, because at the end of the day, we still have only one entrance and we're going against ordinance.
Is the bus barn that's there
So
at the
that's-
front?
I agree with
That's your point.
Is this,
Yeah.
how many buses
It's
are gonna be
ordinance.
there?
And
But if the development does not materialize,
Mhm.
and it only, let's say, phase 3 comes in, because that's all that's allowed,
I'm gonna count the traffic.
you will have multiple, entrances and exits to E.G. Ranch Road, which is the same thing. We go back to my comment earlier, if there's an accident on there, well, I mean, it can happen anywhere, I guess. I mean, you can have an accident on the Mines Road, and it can happen like it happened on 35 today to Larry.
Yeah. One of the
I mean,
biggest,
the road was shut down.
one of the
Going
biggest,
both ways.
one of the biggest concerns, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, is that once they start construction, and we suppose I need to bring this up, for any reason, something goes wrong, they don't develop the rest, we have a subdivision with one entrance that is stuck in there because we made the bad decision today, knowingly that we were going against the ordinance. So that's.
So the ordinance
that's-
requires 2 entrances, right?
That is correct, yes, sir. We only have one there.
Is that it, Ralph?
But we need to have, there needs to be, based on the stuff we want, there needs to be.
So
Huh?
100 Concord
What-
Hills get developed.
I couldn't answer that. I know that Concord Hills does have the punch-throughs similar to this, or adjacent.
But in the second and the third
En
phase,
papel nomás.
or
Yeah, I mean, Las Misiones, I mean, there are multiple that you just end up becoming part of a grid, sir, but I mean, so many tracts of land, especially with the porcion system, they're like this. They're like this is the way the land is sold, you just can't get multiple. And what section, I know the fire code is real specific about a certain amount of lots, but I'm not sure that there's a very specific section of the ordinance that specifies 2 entrances. Are you aware of one, Rafa?
Not quite in that, not quite specifically like that, no. It does say that you have to have the punches out to allow, in other words, you don't want to
Future.
landlock your neighbor or anything like
And
that.
you have to embrace the long-range thoroughfare plan, which gives us connectivity, but we can't own everything.
I'm gonna
at
pull it out
once.
of my mind, and I could be wrong, okay? I believe that if you go over 60 lots, then you require 20 entrances.
Yes, that's, we're speaking about fire code.
Well, yeah, the fire code does, once the threshold is 30 lots.
30 lots.
It's 30, but again,
We
it
have-
does have the exception that says that they're showing future developments and future ingress and egress, that you can allow the development to move forward.
And a lot of that has to do, tell me if I'm wrong, the spirit of that is especially true for local streets. And because whenever they can get shut down, and I'm not sure that that's really, I mean, when you have a 5-lane road, that's not what that rule is for. It's for local roads when you have one little 30-footer that can get shut down. Like they have a party.
Basically, you just want to have 2 ways in and out.
Two
Depending how
ways in
big
and
the
out.
incident is, it could be a lot of trucks coming and you don't want to bottleneck them, or you don't want that one access point to be compromised and you have no way in or
Absolutely.
out.
Absolutely.
So that's why it draws that threshold at 30.
But that's a lot more obvious whenever you have a 30-foot road, a lot more susceptible to those kinds of those kinds of
I
issues?
guess it could be, yeah.
Okay. Well, like I said, we're here to agree with these comments. We're here to embrace the TIA. I'm trying to explain where we're at. Mr. Dominguez, I understand that, your concerns. I wish I had 2 entrances. I wish I had the luxuries that the Killam's have of owning everything, and then having the road go right through the middle of them. But most of us, mostly like Las Misiones, Concord Hills, I mean, this is very common, and we can't control our future when we don't own all the land.
And actually, by your comments, you're agreeing with me. You cannot guarantee that you're gonna have 2 entrances. See? And so I'm taking it by your own words. You can't control it. So I'm here to represent the community.
Yes, sir.
And the community should be represented in the right way. And I think the right way is that you create 2 entrances before you. It's not about
I'm
the
not aware of
development.
that section of the ordinance, sir.
Well, you got more than 30 laws right here that is coming up. So if you want to make it more technical, we can table it, we can look. Which I don't want to prove it wrong. See? I'm just looking for the good, for the wellness of whoever's going to buy a residence in that area.
I understand.
That they will have an option to get out of there. That's all. Simple. And you are not providing it. You are not providing it. And I don't want to make it hard on you. As a matter of fact, you're bringing a good development that doesn't comply.
Algunos proyectos yo he expresado la misma inquietud de Mr. Domínguez, de que los desarrollos deberían de tener 2 entradas o una entrada. Forma de pensar es, estaríamos más cómodos. A lo mejor los bomberos tienen una excelente planeación. Diferente, no fuera la misma. Ya lo platicamos otra vez en un parque industrial y ahí la ampliación del parque industrial era suficientemente ancha, destinado, para tener esta entrada y la salida, era la curva del ancho de la calle. Es una seguridad, una ciudad más segura si tenemos 2 entradas, 2 opciones siempre para entrar y salir. Gracias, Chair.
Any other questions or comments from the commission for Mr. Nance? Thank you, Mr. Nance. All right.
Let me ask,
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
I'm there.
Just go ahead.
I want to mention a comment.
Yes.
Would you consider tabling before we make a vote?
May I ask, how would tabling have?
For us, how you could produce a second entrance?
That would involve purchasing land that we don't, you backed me into a corner, I don't have an option. I don't feel that there's a solution, an attainable solution to address a concern that I'm not sure is really in the ordinance. So if I did table it, it would really be in hopes that I could assure you that what we're doing is very commonplace. And by making this policy of saying that 2 is mandatory for a situation like this, you're really going to be eliminating a lot of other developments that could be coming in front of you and have gone behind this, because I'm not aware of this being enforced in the past, and I'm not aware. The only reason I would agree with tabling it would be to assure you that what we're doing has been done before. It's not violating any ordinance, and that.
Do you want to table it?
I think you're forcing my hand, sir. I don't think that I'm going to be. But if that's what will make you comfortable, I'll do that.
it will make the community comfortable. But again, let's do it.
So I guess my only comment is, my only constriction here is that you're asking him to do something that staff is looking at, I think, the best interest of everybody. So staff has done their due diligence and has put every single comment here, and I just don't see, he's not going against anything that staff has not said. So you're holding up his project and his ability to do the TIA.
I think
And if it doesn't go forward,